In this video, we're going to look at 10 most important subjects in school system. Yes, I want to share with you, after having all the educational background and traveling and moving in different parts of the world, the 10 most important subjects that I think that if each person goes to have access to these subjects, it will make the person an all-rounded person, especially when we do not know where we find ourselves. Now, subject number one is languages. Languages. Languages is one of the most important subject to be able to acquire. It's a skill that we can all use in communicating. Let's say you live in, let's say in Europe, for example. You were raised in Europe all your life and having had your education there, and one of the curriculum as part of languages is that you did take a class called maybe Spanish. Imagine having such a skill set, and let's say fast forward, you find yourself in the Americas. Yes, that skill set will come very, very invaluable. It'll become a very priceless asset because with Spanish, you can become bilingual. So it means that you have English as a first language. Second language will be Spanish, where you can be able to interact with any person that is from the US that can be able to also understand you because now English is a global language, but having one other language like Spanish helps you cut across. If you even have French in addition, it makes it even more better. It makes it even more better. Now, my advice to educators or curriculum developers, if these 10 most important subjects can be imputed into our school curriculum from grade 1 all the way to high school, it provides the needed foundation for the students that cannot be able to tell where their future is going to hold. Of course, we all have aspirations when we are kids. When we ask do we want to do in future, I know many people will say, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a pilot, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be an accountant, I want to be an actuary, I want to be a biologist, and I want to be a lawyer, I want to be many other more. But the interesting thing is we cannot be able to predict where we will finally end up with our careers. And that's why these 10 most important subjects are important, so that it provides a needed foundation for the kid so that no matter where they find themselves, they can be able to fit in and be able to build on a successful career. So the first one is languages. And I believe that English is critical. English is critical. And if you can have Spanish as a second language, and French, that'll make you cut across. Now you see, there's some kind of similarity between Spanish and French. All right. So let's say the numbers. In French you have un for one, and Spanish says uno. All right, uno. So the difference is the o, right? and then French will say number two is going to be deux, but Spanish will say doso, right? So in French, nine is neuf, but in Spanish it's nueve. There's some similarity. So if you're able to have Spanish and trying to learn French, it will come as very easy, as very easy. So I feel like having the first important subject is languages, and having English, Spanish, and French will be a very, very, very invaluable too. Now, second most important language is mathematics. Is mathematics. I always share with friends and people that are close to me that mathematics is the most easiest subject in the world. Yes, you heard it from me. It's the most easy subject in the world. Now, if we are being told to write about our school, there's no format. If I say there's no format, the things you are going to write is going to be a bit different from mine. The details or the content is going to be different. Of course, there's going to be a format where there's an introduction, there's a body, and then there's a conclusion, right? But in terms of what goes into these formats will be different from whatever I'm going to present. My presentation or whatever my content is going to be different from yours. But with mathematics, if we are being told to solve a particular problem, let's say 3x plus 2 is equal to 2. If they say 3x plus 2 is equal to 2, for example, everybody is supposed to get the same answer. It's going to be 3x equals to 2. This has to come here. Minus 2, we get 0. 3x go to 0. We divide by 3, and there we go. All right. So math is the most important subject in the world. Now, someone will say, "What if I'm not too good in math? Is it compulsory for me to have this?" I think yes. Imagine owning a business. You don't know. You cannot be able to predict in future that you might end up owning a business, or you might end up being a cashier at a retail. Maybe you're working at Walmart, or you're working at H&M, and you're the cashier. You're the one who is collecting people's payments and giving them change and all that. Math will come in handy. You see that basic addition and basic subtraction will now become like a little headache. So having math integrated in our school system right from grade 1 to high school helps, so that no matter where you find yourself, you are going to be able to survive. Now, another example. Imagine somebody's going to do a PhD, for example, a PhD in, let's say, theater arts, for example. It will amaze you that at that level, that program is more quantitative than, yes, it's more quantitative than you can ever think or imagine. I know someone will say, how possible? Yes, it's possible, because you have to be able to, at that level, you have to be able to run a lot of data. You have to gather a lot of data and run that data through a lot of models, applying mathematical tools, applying statistical tools, and applying probability at the same time. So imagine that a student or a kid, tries to swerve or try to dodge mathematics early on because he or she feels he's not too good in math, and then the same individual picks an interest in theater arts along the way and says, you know what, I want to go do my PhD in theater arts. The kid gets to his PhD in theater arts and finds out that he needs serious math and needs serious statistics and probability. Is that not going to come as a shock to the student? Yes. With the passion that the person has in trying to achieve this goal, there's going to be an impediment. So mathematics is the second most important subject. Now the third most important subject is physics. Now, there's no way you can be able to survive in physics if you don't have a serious background in mathematics. So it is expedient that mathematics becomes a foundation for physics. So if you have interest, you have goals of becoming a physicist, or you have goals of becoming an engineer where physics is so profound, you and I cannot be able to run away from mathematics. So the first important subject is languages. Second is mathematics. The third is physics. And with physics, English comes in handy. Mathematics comes in handy. You need a lot of math to be able to survive in physics. Let me give you an example. Now imagine there's a formula in physics, and it says that density is equal to mass divided by volume. All right, that is math right there, because that's a fraction. This is a numerator and that's a denominator right there. So if you're not very familiar with mathematics and how math works, it will make understanding physics a bit problematic. All right. Now the fourth most important subject. Give me a second. Is chemistry. Fourth most important subject is chemistry. So far, we've mentioned languages, mathematics, physics, and the fourth one is chemistry. And I believe that if these subjects are imputed or integrated into our school curriculum from grade 1 to high school, it will help an individual a lot, because we cannot predict the outcome of an individual, a kid, in the next 30 years of their careers. We cannot be able to predict. That's why it is good that kids should be able to study chemistry on its own, not science, but there should be a whole subject for languages, a whole subject for mathematics, a whole subject for physics, and a standalone subject for chemistry, not science where we have mixed everything together, so that the kid becomes aware that the sciences are broken down into math, physics, chemistry, and so on. So for chemistry, you and I need a very important tool. We need mathematics, and then we also need physics. Very, 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 very important. Very, very, very important. Now, if we take a look at chemistry, there's something called the stoichiometry, or balancing of equations, balancing of chemical equations. All right. for example, right? So you have a left hand side known as the reactants, and then the right hand side known as the products. So imagine we have Na, let's say sodium hydroxide, and we are adding it to hydrochloric acid. What do we think the product is going to be? What are we going to get? Okay. Now we know that with sodium, it's a cation of +1, and then with hydroxide, it's an anion of -1. With chlorine, it's an anion of -1, and with hydrogen, it's a cation of +1. Now, what do? We can be able to let this sodium form together with the chlorine, so that we have NaCl +1 -1. All right, and then we can also have the hydroxide come together with this, and we're going to have the OH and H, pretty much. Now, what we're going to have basically is going to have NaCl plus the hydrogen is 2 with 1 oxygen. So this becomes water, and this becomes salt. Now, imagine this. If your math is not too good, how are you going to be able to survive? How are you going to be able to survive such a thing? It's going to be very, 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 very difficult. Now, let's be able to look at something like, let's say, we pick something like rocks, for example. If you pick a rock, a big rock, for example, a big rock, all right, a big rock. Now, with physics, our focus is to study the physical. You should take a look at it and observe this particular thing, which is the rock. Observe it and ask questions. Why is this rock, not smooth? Why is this rock this way? Why is this rock in this shape? That is a physicist asking questions. Why is this rock not move very fast? Those are questions that a physicist is going to ask. But with the chemist is interested in at the subatomic level, interested in the minute, breaking down the rocks into little tiny particles and examining them at that particular level. That is the role of chemistry. So if you don't have math background, you don't have a physics background, sitting in a chemistry class will become a little bit tedious and problematic. Now we're going to look at the 5th most important subject that needs to be added to our school curriculum, and that is biology. It should be added to our school curriculum from grade 1 to high school. From grade 1 to high school. I know when we're in grade 1 to somewhere in grade 6 and all that, they bunch some of the subjects together and call it science. But it has to be a standalone, so that the kid is prepared ahead of time and knowing where the differences lie as and when they move along. All right. Now, with biology, on the other hand, biology as well, we also need math. We also need physics. We also need chemistry as well. We need chemistry as well. Now, let me. I'm excited here. If you take a look at the stomach, right, in a human anatomy, you take a look at the stomach, for example. There's HCl that is produced in the stomach, and you and I should be, a bit worried that this HCl in the stomach, let's say the stomach, there's an HCl produced, all right, in the stomach. It should be able to destroy. It should destroy the stomach. Right? But there's a chemical thing that is produced as a lining in the stomach known as bicarbonate ions. Bicarbonate ions, which is a chemical composition. It's chemistry. So you see how chemistry comes into play even though you are doing biology? Yes. Now, let's look at macromolecules, for example. Macromolecules, the things that we need to we consume, the thing that we put into our system to give us energy. Macromolecules. So let's take something like glucose. All right, glucose. Glucose can be seen in biology and at the same time in chemistry. And the chemical composition of glucose, which is sugar, is 6,6H12 and O6. Right there, right? So if you find yourself in a biology class and glucose is mentioned and this chemical formula is stated, it will come as a surprise and a shock to you because you cannot be able to connect the dots. And that's why it is important to have math, to have physics, and to have chemistry before you can be able to appreciate the subject biology. Now imagine somebody is injured on the leg. They put a cast on the leg, and you can see that physics will come to play. At what level should we lift the leg to make the patient comfortable? All right, a patient is lying down. At what angle and level do we lift this leg hanging so that the person will feel comfortable, and the level of pain be a little bit mitigated for the person? How can we be able to? Now, physics comes into play because of the forces of gravity. The forces of gravity and motion will come into play, and how it impacts this particular person. Even though you are treating a person, you're a doctor and treating this patient, physics will come into play, chemistry will come into play. So it is important for us to have math, physics, and chemistry when dealing with the fifth most important subject, which is biology. All right. Now, the sixth most important subject is to be able to have what we call tech skills. Tech skills. I call them technical skills. Technical skills, very important. For those that are very creative in their minds. So ICT, computer science, will be taught. Woodwork, anything that has to do with woodwork, will be taught. Anything that has to do with metal work will be taught. Anything that has to do with block work will be taught. And anything that deals with arts, cooking, and sewing. Cooking and sewing. These are important things that in the technical skills class, it should be taught. But because it's a whole journey from grade 1 to high school, a whole syllabus has to be drawn to encompass all these things I've mentioned: ICT, woodwork, metal work, block work, arts, cooking, and sewing, so that every phase it will be taught in chunks and chunks. So by the time the individual gets to high school, all the curriculum is completed for that particular person. Now I want to go back a little bit to the biology. Now, in biology, we have what we call botany, the study of plants, and crop farming, right? Or zoology, the study of animals, and animal farming. All right. And then we also have what we call anatomy. We have what we call anatomy, human anatomy, the study of a human being. The physical framework of a human is known as anatomy. And then the last one is microbiology. Microbiology is the study of microbes, things we can't see with our naked eyes, and the study of diseases. All right. So all these things will be designed in the curriculum to be able to give these kids little chunks of information here and there from grade 1 to high school. Now, the seventh most important subject is known as geography. Geography. Now, with geography, we can break that down, and then what I think should be taught will be history, will be social studies, and maybe religious and moral education. Religious and moral education. All right? This could be taught. So it will give our kids, it will make them all-rounded, it will make them an all-rounded student and an all-rounded person. It's not going to be only textbook knowledge, but it's going to be practical. It's going to be practical as well, making our kids enjoy their education from grade 1 to high school level. Now, the eighth most important subject is economics. It's economics. We need to start teaching our kids early about money and how the economy works. About money and how the economy works. And with economics, we have what we call the microeconomics, which deals with how human beings behave in their household, how we manage our finances in our home. Microeconomics. And then macro is what the government does, the kind of decisions the government does, and how that impacts our decisions as householders, people in a household, and how we are going to be able to make decisions on our money as well. So it is important that we have to introduce this thing to our kids as early as possible to be able to have a basic understanding of money and how our economies work. The ninth most important subject is accounting. Yes, accounting. Yes, that also helps build up more information and knowledge on how to understand how money works. So we're going to know how to prepare accounts. So financial accounting, management accounting, or what some people call costing, will be taught, and finance will also be taught. Now the last one is management. It's management, how to deal with human beings, the study of human behavior, and law, how to deal with human beings, the study of human beings, and business law. This is important because if the kid finds himself in business, the kid needs to know certain basic business laws on how to be able to handle transactions, how to be able to handle transactions. So laws such as contract law, commercial law, these things are important for the student, and company law are important for the student to be able to have an understanding, and also how to deal with human beings. So topics such as motivation, topics such as leadership, topics such as planning, organizing, controlling, commanding, communicating are important tools that when I introduce for our kids, it will make them an all-rounded person. So we call it OB, which is organizational behavior, human resource, and law. All right. I hope this works. I'll come to you another time. Take care and bye.